How to needle felt sleeping eyes. Sometimes you'll want to create sleeping animals like this little hazel dormouse. It's got its little eyes tightly closed. It's very sound asleep. Look at his little toes. Or like this baby tiger quoll, sleeping away. So how do you create needle felted sleeping eyes? So if you're wondering where to start, or you'd like some ideas for your own projects, I'm going to make another sleepy quoll. He's going to have his little eyes here, and at the moment he's quite bare because I haven't got any fur on him. But these are the slits that I've started to make for the eyes here. In this tutorial I'm going to show you the different stages of making the sleeping eye.
Hi, I'm Amanda Adibisi of Fit to Be Loved, and on this channel I'll teach you the techniques to create cute and realistic animals. If you would like to become a more confident felter and advance your skills, be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.
I'm going to start off with some more of my core wool, and I'm going to create the top and the bottom eyelids. I'm twisting the wool to prepare it with my fingers before placing it on, like so. Now, as we're defining with a bit more detail now, I'm going to use something like the 38 gauge star or the 40 gauge triangle for this. I'm going to add this little bit of core wool and shape it as I go. And all the while just making sure that I define that middle slit where I'm going to put some darker colours a little bit later on. Now, ideally, when you've done a bit of one side and one eye, you would then do a little bit of the other eye, just to make sure that it's matching up. But and you might want to do that if you're a beginner. But I'm just going to show you this one eye, and I'm going to do the other eye off camera and then show you it a bit later as well. So I'm just firming up using my fingers as well. This is the great thing about wool. You can squish it as well, as long as it's not too firm. You can squish it a little bit just to get it manipulated into the shape that you want. And now moving on to the lower eyelid, the same again, adding layers to build up the thickness of that lid. There we go. And then firmly stabbing it away to firmly felt it into place. Again, I'm going to make sure that that centre slit is really defined as I go as well. There we go. So I'm going to take some of the dark brown merino wool and use this to form the dark line down the centre line that we've been making. So just twisting it to prepare it is going to go down the centre line here. I think that's a little bit too much. I'm going to take a little bit off. There we go. Still a bit thick, I think. This is the great thing, you can take bits off as you need them, but you only need a very tiny smidgen to go in that centre line. Now with this one, oops, I'm going to use my twisted needle. So I'm using a 40 gauge twisted. You could still use the triangle. It just needs something that you can do the finer detail with. So I'm using my needle to push those fibres in. It's very important to fix it in place. trying to make it nice and uniform and thin and get the right shape that I want as I go. I'm going to leave links to where you can buy some of these needles in the description below. So if you don't have a twisting needle, honestly, they're great for doing these kind of things, but also making smooth finishes on your animals. So yeah, I will leave the details below. There we go. So that's the sleepy look, and moving on now. So I'm going to probably speed this up in a bit, but just want to show you the very basics. I'm just getting some of this merino wool, a couple of different shades, and mixing the two by hand blending. You only need to take small lengths at a time. So I'm going to take the centre and I'm going to pop that on and then just stab down the centre line basically. This is one method that I use for implanting fur. If you want to see how I do long fur in a bit more detail, I do have a video. I'll pop the link now. So what you'll be doing is you'll be layering the wool, starting from the top of the head, the ear end, layering piece by piece on top of each other towards the nose. So I'm going to speed this up a bit so you get the general gist of what I'm doing. I'm continuing to add the fur layer by layer, blending as I go. And it's all going to go in one direction, away from the nose. If you look at the real animal, you can see which way the fibres will go. So I'm going to carry on thickening up that lower eyelid, adding a few more layers. And obviously you might be doing all sorts of different animals. This is a very strange animal. It's one that I didn't actually know about until a few years ago. And it's just gorgeous. It's a tiger quoll. They have spots all over them. It's a marsupial from Australia. There we go. And then just give a little snip. You can snip right at the end, but I find it helps to snip as you go. There we go. So hopefully you can see that this is coming together now. And the eye is looking like a little sleepy eye. So the next thing I'm going to use is a reverse needle. Now the reverse needle has barbs going the opposite way to the normal felting needles. And as I pull, rather than push, I'm pulling the fibres from the core wool out to the top surface. Effectively what I'm doing is I'm blending the two colours together and I'm creating a lighter edge just to the top of that lower lid. Okay, and using the other needle just to blend it more as well. Great. So I'm going to carry on with the upper lid, adding the long fibres, again just layering the next layer. So I'm going to carry on going at high speed. I don't obviously felt as fast as this, but it's just to show you how it goes. Now, while I'm doing this, I just wanted to ask you a question. What sleeping animal are you going to make? Are you going to make a sleeping dormouse, sleepy bunny? Let me know in the comments below. Now, as you felt, you can also use your fingers to carefully squeeze the wool to help keep the shape as well. I find this really useful to do as I go along if needed. And a little snip there with the scissors. Now I'm going to use the needle, the reverse needle again on this top eyelid. So again, I'm just going to go along that very bottom edge of the top eyelid this time, just creating a light edge, blending as I go. Be very careful not to pull the dark merino through. You only want to get the very edge. I so love using the reverse needle. It really helps with facial features. I often use it around the muzzle of my animals, and doing it around the eye to define it is really, really great. It's really brilliant for blending colours especially. It makes it really quick as well. Oh, I hope you like him so far. Little sleepy eye. So I felted the second eye off camera. They look like they're more or less symmetrical. I'm quite happy with that. You can kind of measure where the corners come together, that the left and right are in the same position on both sides. You can turn it the other way. Now, that little bit on the right is a bit longer in the fur length, but I'm actually okay with it because the main thing at this point is that the eyes look like they're mirroring each other, so that's really good. So looking on top, looking in the mirror is sometimes really helpful as well to see anything. Now, what you can do is you can use the warmth of your hands just to manipulate this a little bit more if you want to change the angle a little bit. As long as that wool is not too firm, it needs to be medium firm but not too firm, you can pull, for example, the lower eyelid down a little bit and you could just use a needle to stab in to secure it in place. But I want these eyelids to be nicely closed, so I'm just going to squeeze that in a little bit more there. Great, so I'm quite happy with that. I hope that's really helped you to get some ideas about how to make needle felted sleeping eyes. Whatever you make, let me know how it goes. And I'm going to finish him now because he's got no fur and he's a bit bare, bless him. Thanks for watching.